The weather models can't agree on exactly where the bullseye of heaviest snow will set up Friday night, but here's what they do agree on. Someone in the mid-Atlantic or Northeast is getting crushed with 6 to 10 inches. And that's just the first of multiple major snowstorms that are going to march across the eastern United States, like an assembly line, over the next 14 days. At minute 2:55, I'm going to explain why this particular jet stream configuration creates what meteorologists call a repeating trough pattern. And by minute 5, you'll understand why the disagreement between weather models actually tells us something important about how to prepare. Let me give you a number that illustrates just how active this pattern is. 18 inches in Lewiston, Maine from a storm that just ended. Quarter inch of ice forecast for Pennsylvania and Maryland from tomorrow's storm. 2 feet of cumulative snow possible for parts of the Midwest and Northeast over the next 2 weeks. These aren't isolated events. This is a pattern. And patterns persist. Right now, on Christmas Eve, we're in the eye of the hurricane, so to speak. One storm just exited, the next one is organizing, and there are more behind it. But before I tell you about the snowstorm assembly line heading for the East Coast, you need to understand what's happening on the West Coast, because the two are connected. Southern California is experiencing catastrophic flooding, 10 inches or more of rain near Los Angeles. That's not annual rainfall, that's rainfall from one event. Landslides are occurring. Debris flows are cutting off communities. This is a disaster unfolding in real time. When the West Coast gets hit this hard, it tells meteorologists something important about the jet stream. The same atmospheric river that's drowning California is part of a larger pattern, and that pattern is about to reorganize and impact the East Coast. What hits the West today hits the East in 3 to 5 days. That's been true for decades. It's happening again right now. In Matthew 7:24-27, Jesus told the parable of 2 builders. One built his house on rock, the other built on sand. When storms came, the house on rock stood firm. The house on sand collapsed. Over the next 2 weeks, multiple storms are coming. The question is, which foundation are you building on? Are you preparing, or are you assuming it won't be that bad? Let me walk you through the first major storm in detail, because understanding what's happening helps you prepare better. Tonight, Christmas night, around 10 p.m. Eastern Time, snow and ice begin developing across northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. The upper peninsula of Michigan sees snow. Lower Michigan? That's where things get complicated. Central and southern Michigan are forecast to receive significant ice accumulation. And ice is more dangerous than most people realize. It's not as dramatic as snow. It doesn't pile up where you can see it, but it's insidious. Ice makes roads skating rinks. Ice brings down power lines and tree branches. Ice causes more accidents and injuries than heavy snow because people don't respect how dangerous it is. By Friday morning, December 26th, Michigan is dealing with a serious ice event. Roads are treacherous, power outages are beginning, emergency services are getting overwhelmed with calls. And that's just the warm-up act. By Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, the storm really gets going for Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Freezing rain is falling steadily across western Pennsylvania and western New York. Maryland is getting hit hard. Roads are becoming sheets of ice. Travel is becoming extremely dangerous. Meanwhile, heavy snow is developing from the Finger Lakes region of New York through northeastern Pennsylvania, then into northern New Jersey, Long Island, and New York City. Now, here's where this gets really interesting, and this is the part that most forecasters gloss over but I think is critically important. The weather models disagree about where the heaviest snow falls. The European model, which is often considered one of the more reliable long-range models, shows the heaviest snow a bit further north, more over New York State, Connecticut, and Long Island. New York City gets some snow, but not the jackpot amounts. The NAM model, which is a high-resolution short-range model, shows 6 to 10 inches going straight through northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and right into the heart of New York City. This is the classic setup for a major I-95 corridor snowstorm. But then there's the RRFS model. This is the new model that's replacing the NAM in March. It's cutting-edge, high-resolution, state-of-the-art, and it shows something completely different. It shows the heaviest snow much further south. Central Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania, southern and central New Jersey. This southern solution would bring major snow to Philadelphia. It would potentially impact Baltimore. It would shift the entire event 30 to 40 miles south of current expectations. So which model is right? Here's the honest answer. We don't know yet, and we won't know with certainty until probably Thursday evening at the earliest. Storm tracks can and do shift in the final 12 to 24 hours before an event. What looks like a direct hit for New York City on Wednesday could shift to Philadelphia by Friday, or vice versa. But here's what the model disagreement tells us, and this is important. When models disagree about details but agree on the big picture, it means the big picture is certain, but the details are uncertain. The big picture here is that a major winter storm is going to impact the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast Friday night into Saturday morning. That's locked in. That's happening. The uncertain detail is exactly who gets the bullseye of heaviest snow. What does that mean for you practically? It means if you live anywhere from Pennsylvania through New York through southern New England, you need to prepare as if you're going to get hit hard. Don't assume the storm is going to miss you because one model shows it 30 miles away. 30 miles is nothing. That's a small shift that can happen in the final hours before the event. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but don't gamble your safety on the assumption that it won't be that bad for you. Now let me tell you about the ice, because while everyone focuses on snow totals, ice might actually be the bigger story. The National Weather Service is forecasting a 1/10 to 1/4 inch of ice accumulation for large portions of Pennsylvania and Maryland. Northwestern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, and extensive areas of Maryland are in the forecast zone. Let me explain what those numbers mean in practical terms. 1/10 of an inch of ice makes roads nearly undrivable, not slippery, undrivable. You can't maintain control at normal speeds. Accidents pile up. Emergency services can't keep up. 1/4 inch of ice starts snapping tree branches and bringing down power lines. The weight becomes too much. Trees that stood through decades of winter weather suddenly fail. Power outages during an ice storm can last for days. Because crews can't work safely when ice is still accumulating, they have to wait for conditions to improve. And while they're waiting, you're sitting in a dark, cold house. If you're in the ice forecast zone, you need to prepare for power outages. Not might prepare, need to prepare. In 2 Timothy 1:7, Paul writes, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Preparing for power outages isn't fear. It's using the sound mind God gave you to act wisely. Here are the 3 actions you must take before Friday morning. And notice I said must, not should. These aren't optional if you want to stay safe. Action 1. Treat model disagreement as a reason to prepare more, not less. When forecasters aren't sure exactly where the worst impacts will occur, the smart response is to assume you could be in that zone. Stock up on food, water, medications, batteries, flashlights. Get cash. Fill your gas tank. Charge all devices. Do this before Friday morning while you still can. Action 2. Create a power outage action plan. Right now, before the storm, walk through your house and identify what stops working if the power goes out. Heat, water, cooking, communication. For each thing that stops working, identify a backup solution. Alternative heat source, stored water, food that doesn't need cooking, battery-powered radio. Write it down. Don't assume you'll remember in the stress of an actual outage. Action 3. Make the hard decision about travel now, not Friday morning. If you're supposed to travel home from Christmas visits on Friday or Saturday, you need to decide now whether to leave early or stay late. Traveling during this storm is dangerous. Not inconvenient, dangerous. Ice storms and heavy snow create conditions where even experienced winter drivers lose control. If you can leave Thursday, do it. If you can stay until Sunday, do that. But don't plan on traveling Friday or Saturday unless it's absolutely unavoidable. Now, let me tell you what happens after this first storm, because the pattern gets even more interesting. Saturday, the 27th, the Boxing Day storm moves offshore. Cleanup begins, roads get plowed, power crews work on restoration. People think the worst is over. It's not. It's just beginning. By Sunday and Monday, December 28th and 29th, the first Arctic blast arrives. And when I say Arctic blast, I mean genuine Arctic air, the kind that makes your face hurt, the kind that freezes anything wet in minutes. Temperatures crash into the teens and single digits across the Northeast. Wind chills drop below zero. Lake effect snow cranks up downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario. Buffalo, Syracuse, Watertown, you know this pattern. Feet of snow in narrow bands, whiteout conditions. Roads constantly snow-covered. This is what you live with when lake effect gets going. But here's what's different this time. The Arctic air doesn't moderate. Usually, Arctic blasts last 3 or 4 days, then temperatures recover. Not this time. This time, just as the first Arctic blast starts to ease slightly, another storm approaches. Around December 30th, just before New Year's Eve, the second major winter storm develops. And this one could be even more significant than the Boxing Day storm. The models are showing this New Year's storm potentially undergoing bombogenesis. That's the technical term for when a storm's central pressure drops 24 millibars or more in 24 hours. Storms that bomb out like this become meteorological monsters. They produce heavy snow, high winds, near blizzard or blizzard conditions. They're the storms that people remember for years. Current guidance shows this system impacting the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and then moving into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And it's bringing the second Arctic blast with it. This one is even colder than the first. We're looking at temperatures potentially 5 to 10 degrees colder than the first Arctic intrusion. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day could feature some of the coldest temperatures of the entire winter. Single-digit highs across the upper Midwest, teens in the Northeast. Wind chills well into the negative numbers. If you're planning to go out for New Year's celebrations, you need to dress like you're going on an Arctic expedition. This is not hyperbole. Exposed skin can develop frostbite in 10 minutes or less at these temperatures. Then, after a brief warming in early January, a third Arctic blast appears likely around January 4th or 5th. This is the assembly line pattern I mentioned at the start. Cold, storm, colder, storm, even colder, storm. Over and over, every 3 to 5 days. Through at least mid-January, each Arctic blast creates the cold air needed for snow. Each brief warm-up between blasts brings moisture. When they collide, you get winter storms. The European model is showing cumulative snowfall over the next 2 weeks that approaches or exceeds 2 feet for portions of the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. 2 feet. Not from one storm, from multiple storms adding up. But the impact is the same. Roads constantly snow-covered, salt supplies running low, plow drivers exhausted, snowbanks growing higher and higher. This is what sustained winter weather looks like. Now, let me talk about something that most forecasters aren't discussing yet, but could become very significant: the southern slider potential. I mentioned earlier that we're seeing a repeating trough pattern. The jet stream is dipping south over the western United States, then lifting northeast across the country. Twice during the European model run, we see the southern branch of the jet stream trying to phase with the northern branch. When this happens, it can create storms that track along the Gulf Coast and up the Atlantic seaboard. These are called southern sliders or Miller-Ace storms, and they can bring significant snow to areas that don't typically see major winter weather. Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, even northern Georgia and Alabama can get substantial snow from southern slider events. Right now, the models are hinting at this potential. They're not fully developing these systems yet, but the ingredients are there. The jet stream configuration supports it. If you live in the southern mid-Atlantic or upper south, don't completely write off winter weather in early to mid-January. Keep watching. The pattern has the potential. Similarly, areas from New Mexico through Texas through Oklahoma need to watch. We're seeing energy in the southern jet stream that could organize into winter weather for those regions. Nothing is certain this far out, but the pattern is intriguing. Let me give you specific city forecasts because I know you want to know what to expect where you live. New York City, current thinking is 6 to 10 inches from the Boxing Day storm, but that could shift north or south. Then you're looking at another potential major event around New Year's, then possibly more in early January. Cumulative totals over 2 weeks could approach or exceed 2 feet. Philadelphia, you're in the most uncertain position. The RRFS model shows you getting hammered. Other models keep the heaviest snow north of you. You need to monitor forecasts very closely Thursday and Friday. Boston, you're on the northern fringe of the first storm, but subsequent systems could hit you harder. Don't assume you're dodging the bullet just because the Boxing Day storm might miss you. Baltimore and Washington, D.C., ice is your primary threat Friday. A tenth to a quarter inch is enough to create major problems. Later storms could bring you snow depending on track. Pittsburgh, you're right on the rain-snow line for most systems. Western suburbs stay warmer, eastern suburbs get snow and ice. Very challenging forecast position. Buffalo, Syracuse, Watertown, you're getting lake effect between and after every major storm. January could bury you. Multiple feet of cumulative snow is possible. Detroit and lower Michigan, the ice storm Friday is your immediate crisis. Then comes the cold, then comes more winter weather. This is a sustained, difficult period. Chicago and Milwaukee, you're getting hit by multiple systems. The repetitive nature means constant cleanup, constant difficult travel, constant disruption. Minneapolis and the Northern Plains, the New Year's storm could be a major blizzard for you. Prepare accordingly. This could be the biggest storm of the winter. Now, let me address something that's critically important but often overlooked: the mental and emotional toll of sustained winter weather. When you get storm after storm after storm with no break, it affects people psychologically. The constant shoveling gets exhausting, the difficult travel gets frustrating, the cold and dark get depressing. This is when seasonal affective disorder hits hardest, when people start feeling isolated, overwhelmed, hopeless. Check on people regularly through this pattern, not just after storms, but between them, especially elderly people, people who live alone, people who've expressed feeling down. And if you're struggling, reach out. There's no weakness in admitting winter is hard. Many people feel the same way. In Galatians 6:2, Paul writes, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." Winter gives us burdens. Snow to shovel, cold to endure, disruptions to manage. We can carry these alone or we can help each other. Choose community. Choose connection. Let me close with perspective and encouragement. Yes, this is a significant winter pattern. Yes, it's going to be challenging. Yes, it's going to disrupt life and create hardship, but you can handle this. With preparation, with community support, with faith, you can weather this pattern successfully. The model disagreement I talked about? That's actually a gift. It's a reminder to prepare more thoroughly because we can't predict every detail. The assembly line of storms? That's winter doing what winter is supposed to do in much of the country. The Arctic blasts? They're uncomfortable, but they're survivable with proper preparation. You have what you need to get through this. God is with you. Community surrounds you. You're stronger than you think. In Philippians 4:13, Paul writes, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." That includes enduring difficult winters. Stay informed. Forecasts update constantly. Storm tracks shift. New information emerges. Check forecasts daily. Stay prepared with supplies, backup systems, contingency plans. Stay connected to neighbors, community, faith, family. Stay faithful. Trust that God walks with you through every storm. This is your 2-week winter outlook. Multiple major storms, repetitive Arctic blasts, significant snow, difficult conditions. But you're ready. You know what's coming. You know how to prepare. You know you're not alone. Face this winter with courage and faith, and know that spring always comes eventually. Until the next update, stay warm, stay safe, stay faithful.